4 people died in this house. The local Tohoku police called it a shinju, a failed family suicide. A tragedy quickly filed away. But they missed a critical detail. The youngest child, a 6-year-old girl named Fuyumi, was never found. Her body wasn't there. My name is Kenji Tanaka. I came here for that answer. I moved my entire family into that same old house, a kuminka, swallowed by a dense forest of pagoda trees and an even denser silence. My wife, Yui, hated it on sight. She felt the chill in the wood, the smell of old mold. Haru, my 12-year-old, just grumbled about the lack of cell service before plugging in his headphones and disappearing into his own world. And then there was Akari, my 7-year-old daughter. She said nothing. She just stood at the threshold, staring at the ancient pagoda tree in the yard, its branches like gnarled black fingers reaching for the gray sky. She whispered something I couldn't quite hear. It sounded like, "It's waiting." "Kenji, are you sure?" Yui asked me that first night, her voice lost in the vast bedroom. "This house, it doesn't feel right. It's just old, my love," I lied. "Give it time." On the 3rd day, while Yui took the kids to town, I started my work. I was drawn to the kura, the old earthen storehouse separate from the main building. The heavy wooden door shrieked in protest. The air inside was thick with camphor, and the metallic temps of what smelled like dried blood. Underneath a rotting tatami mat, it was sitting there. A plain wooden box. I set it on my desk. Inside was an old Elmo 8mm projector, and only one metal film reel. It was sloppily labeled Lexi. That night, after my family was asleep, I crept to the living room. I hung a white bedsheet on the wall. I loaded the single reel. The projector clicked inward. Click, clack, click. A blurry image appeared. A family of 4, a mother, a father, 2 sons. They were camping by a lake. They waved at the camera, but their smiles were rigid. Their eyes were hollow. The camera shook, as if held by a child. The scene cut abruptly. That same family, now in their car. The car was parked by the shore. They weren't moving. They just sat there, staring forward, as if and then, the car began to roll. Very slowly, it drifted toward the water's edge. It hit the water. That's when the panic started. Their faces contorted in terror. They woke up. They began to scream. The mother turned, pounding on the back window. The father frantically cranked the wheel. Water poured in. Quickly, the car pitched forward. The windshield dipped under. Black water consumed them. I saw hands beating against the inside of the glass. Bubbles. So many bubbles. Then, only the quiet, rippling surface of the lake remained. The camera didn't move. It didn't cut. It just stayed there, filming the flat water, an inhuman, cruel patience. It just filmed the rippling water and the gray sky. Before the film cut to white, I saw it just for a frame. A tall, thin figure standing at the edge of the woods. My heart hammered. This was a snuff film. I felt sick. My first reaction was not curiosity, it was fear. I shut off the projector. The silence of the house rushed in. I ran to check on my family. I ran to the bedroom. Yui and Haru were asleep. Ba Akari. Her bed was empty. I heard running water. I sprinted to the bathroom. Yui, awake now, ran after me. "Kenji, what is it?" We froze at the doorway. Akari was sitting in the bathtub. She was fully clothed in her pajamas, soaking wet. The tub was overflowing with cold water. "Akari, what are you doing?" Yui shrieked. Akari looked up at us, her eyes empty. She wasn't shivering. I just wanted to watch the bubbles. The horror set in. This was not random. The threat was real. It was in my house. Yui put Akari to bed. I went back to my study. Now I was obsessed. He went online. I typed Biwa, lake, family drowning. Old articles appeared. Holiday tragedy, horrific accident, brakes thought to have failed. The police had closed the case. But there was a small detail at the end of the article. The body of the youngest son, Eiichiro Ryo, was never recovered. A missing child, just like Fujimi. I recognized the pattern. A massacre, a film, a missing child. I knew there had to be more. The next morning, I returned to the Kura. This time, I was looking for the pattern. I brought a crowbar. I stared at the wooden box. It was too simple. I turned it over. The bottom seemed thicker than it should. I saw a small crack. I forced the crowbar in. A splintering sound echoed. A secret compartment. Inside, there was a second film reel. Dusty La Bold, Open Festival. I ran to the living room. Yui and the kids were in the kitchen, trying to have a normal morning. I could not. I had to see it. I loaded the film. The clicking started again. Yui watched me with dread. Another family. Mother, father, a teenage daughter. They were hanging red and white paper lanterns in their yard. The Festival of the Dead. They looked tired. The girl kept glancing at the camera, terrified. The scene cut. Now it was night. The same room. The entire family was tied to posts, their mouths gagged. The paper lanterns were scattered on the floor. The fire ignited. Someone, off camera, had thrown a lit lantern into the dry paper. The flames erupted instantly. Silent screams. Their eyes wide. They struggled, their skin blistered and blackened. The camera did not flinch, and in the flickering light, reflected in the dark window glass, I saw the figure again. Clearer. It was distorted, elongated, and it seemed to be watching, standing right outside. Dad, Haru's scream. From the attic. I burst out of the living room, taking the stairs two at a time. Haru was standing at his bedroom door, his face white. Yui ran up behind me. I smell smoke. I smell smoke. It's hot. I stepped into the room. The air was frigid. There's nothing here, Haru. No. The wall. He trembled, pointing to the wall that backed onto the old chimney. It's burning hot. I placed my hand on the wall. It was ice cold. Haru, it's cold. No, Haru backed away. His eyes wide. It's not smoke. I know that smell. It's the smell of burning meat. Yui screamed. Pure terror. This was not imagination. I grabbed Haru and Yui. Out of this room, I slammed the door. Yui, pack our things immediately. Just the assent. We are leaving this house. While they frantically packed, I knew I was missing one piece. The film about this house. I stood in my study, looking out at the backyard, the tree. The tree Akari had been staring at the first day. I ran outside. It was getting colder. The air smelled like snow. I looked up, the gnarled, black branches. In a hollow of the tree, where a large branch had broken off, something glinted in the weak afternoon light. I climbed. The rough bark tore at my hands. They were numb from the cold. I reached into the dark hollow. My fingers touched cold metal. It was a film reel. It was labeled Winter Night to the car. Now, I yelled into the house. I ran to our car. Yui and Haru were already there, throwing bags in the back. Get in, Kenji. Hurry, I jumped into the driver's seat. Yui and Haru piled in the back, clinging to each other. I jammed the key in the ignition. I turned it. A click. I turned it again. Click. Click. The dashboard lights flickered weakly, then died. The engine was completely dead. No, Yui whispered. No, no, no. Out, I ordered. Get out of the car. Go back to the storehouse. Lock the door. Kenji, where are you going? She cried. It doesn't want us to leave, I said, a cold desperation rising in my chest. It won't. Let us leave. You have to get Haru to the Kura. Now, they ran toward the Kura. I walked back to the main house. I was trapped, and if I was trapped, I had to know why. I went back to the living room. The winter night reel still clutched in my hand. Not out of curiosity, but desperation. I loaded the film into the projector. I had to see. I recognized the scene instantly. It was my backyard, the Inaba family. They were playing in the snow. They looked happy, a staged, painful happiness. The scene cut 4 figures, hanging from the branches of the old pagoda tree, ropes tied around their necks. Snow fell gently around them. The camera panned slowly, a cruel, methodical slowness. It moved from one to the next. It stopped on the father's face, his eyes wide open, frozen, staring right at the house, staring right at me. I screamed. I grabbed all 3 film reels from the table. I'll burn them. I'll end this. I turned, but the films in my hand te vergone. I was clutching empty air. No! 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 I checked my pockets. Nothing. And then I heard it. Click, clack, click. The dry, mechanical sound of the projector. It was coming from this very room Primera turned back. A light was hitting the wall. Akari was sitting there, on the floor, staring at the screen. She was watching a new film, an unlabeled reel. Where had she been? On the screen was not a family. It was a jerky collection of images. The child from the Lakeside film. The child from the Oben Festival film. Fuyumi. The missing children. They were standing in a dark space, staring at the camera. Their faces were hollow, empty. Their movements were jerky, like broken puppets. Then it appeared. The figure, it seemed to assemble itself from the shadows between them. It unfolded, a twisting void. It had no face. It turned to Fujumi. It handed her an 8mm camera. Fulumi tuk Italiano. She turned to look at the camera, staring right at me. The entity raised its long, disproportionate hand toward the camera. Taworth. May, I screamed. I turned to grab Akari. The room was empty. Akari was gone. The projector's clicking had stopped. The sudden silence was deafening. The film on the wall was gone. I looked at my desk, where the old Elmo projector had been. It was gone. Almost gone. Something else was there. A new 8mm camera. Shiny, cold. Beside it was a fresh reel of film, still in its box, and a note. In Akari's handwriting, "Your movie will make you famous." The cold was no longer coming from outside. It was inside me. Kenji. Yui's voice from outside. Panicked. "Where's Haru?" "Haru is gone." I looked through the study window. The car was still there, but Yui was standing alone. She was pounding on the Kura door. It was locked from the inside. I looked down the hall. The door to the backyard was wide open. Cold wind rushed in, carrying the smell of snow. I walked outside. The snow had begun to fall. In the dim moonlight, I saw her. Akari was standing by the old pagoda tree. She was not alone. The entity stood beside her. It was a shadow, a void in the air, swallowing the weak moonlight. It turned its feet to the space, where a face should be, toward me. Akari raised the new 8mm camera. She aimed it right at me. "Don't worry, Daddy," Akari's voice rang out, small but dreadfully clear in the silent snow. "I'm going to make you famous again." I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. "Yui," I roared. "Run?" I turned back. Yui was running toward me from the storehouse, but he was already there. Haru, standing right in front of me, eyes blank. I looked back at Akari. Yui was now standing next to Haru. They had been moved. They were being held, forced to stand still, like actors set in their places, their faces rigid with terror. Akari stepped forward. She was holding something in her other hand. A kitchen knife, glinting in the moonlight. I heard the tiny motor of the camera begin to run. A dry, metallic whir. Click, clack. That was the last sound I ever heard. Thanks for watching until the end. What was your favorite part? Please let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss my future content. Your support is my biggest motivation. Thank you all so much.